What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Jay Cancer. You are tuned in to Streaming with Jay, the TV show edition, the reviews. Roll it. Oh, what's going on, New York City? It's your boy Jay Cancer, that is, and welcome to Streaming with Jay. The reviews. I am reviewing the season or the series finale of The Boys. Season 5, episode 8. Yeah. Yes, this is going to be a heavy spoiler review, so if you don't want to hear it, you might want to get out of here now. But if you're still here, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and Jay appreciates that. Come on. Let's get it. Yeah, what's going on? So this is like a new thing I'm going to do. I think I'm going to cover some TV shows, and so I don't have to always be so serious, and I can have a little fun with my commentary and whatnot, and just see where I land, and if anything that I fully like kind of gravitate to, see where my chemistry's at. So I'm always trying new things. So today's review, we're going to talk about the finale of The Boys. Yes, The Boys TV show, starring Karl Urban, Laz Alonso, and other casts. And I gotta say that the finale is very disappointing to me. So, all right, let's talk about The Boys finale, to be completely honest. Because of after all the hype, all the build-up, all, quote, Homelander is basically a god now energy, the ending kind of left me sitting there like, that's it? It wasn't bad, but it wasn't definitely the punch in the mouth that I expected, per se. I'm going to be real. The finale felt underwhelming. Not terrible, not disrespectful, just, soft. Especially for a show that built Homelander up as this unstoppable ascending god tier threat. The final fight didn't feel brutal enough. It didn't feel dangerous enough, and honestly, it didn't feel like the payoff was what we promised. Being that Homelander was a menace, the entire season, when he appeared on screen, you knew shit was going to go down. And that's one of the things that I felt really empty about with this last episode. Even the episodes that led up to it, I felt like, damn, he's here. Someone's dying in the most horriblest way possible. Every time you knew, like, you always felt they had a chance, the characters had a chance when there was other superheroes, because most of these superheroes are dumb, in this. Some of them are clever, but most of them are dumb, more or less. But it just feels like meh, But let's dive a little deeper into it. Let's break down of what happened. So the rundown is this. Frenchie dies. There was an emotional, heavy, solid start. Kimiko depowers Homelander, which is a cool moment, but it was kind of tame. It wasn't what we were used to. But it was a nice little surprise. Butcher kills Homelander with a crowbar, dramatically, right? But the execution felt weirdly small, minuscule, or something like that. Also, Huey kills Butcher. I didn't expect that, but yeah, that in a sense, now that I think about it, it needed to happen. But it felt like they kind of killed that energy like 2 episodes ago when they actually had a talk with each other. Like it was like they had this talk either the episode before or the episode before that. They had a talk and he actually leveled with Huey and, they could see eye to eye. But, I don't know. It felt like I was surprised by it, but I know it needed to happen. But it was like, was it necessary? You killed the person you were after, and as if you didn't know, they had this virus and they were hoping to kill Homelander with it, but it was useless after the fact that, which we'll call it, Homelander shot himself with V1 and became the Ascended God, which means he was immortal like Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy got hit with the virus and it didn't do nothing to him. So that's where, they felt that, what do we do? And I felt the same way. It's like, oh shit, he got what he needed to get. What do y'all do? Now, what I didn't realize is that it just made him immortal. It didn't make him all powerful. It just meant that the virus couldn't kill him. It didn't mean that he still couldn't be killed, or depowered as Kimiko did. But, back to what I was saying with Butcher and being killed by Huey. I didn't expect it, but it needed to happen. And I do agree with that sentiment. Also, everyone gets their little epilogue. And honestly, all of them felt empty. Like the writers were just checking boxes instead of closing arcs. One of the things was, I know Mother's Milk had a lot of issues with his family and his daughter and whatnot. And it's kind of like it felt after the boyfriend died and whatnot, it felt kind of like he got him out and then that was it. You didn't see him. And I guess that was the point. But it was like, what did he return home to? I guess, more or less. So, and then you already automatically knew Starlight, which was played by Erin Moriarty, and Huey, which was played by Dennis Quaid's son. I am so sorry. I'll put his name in here. We already knew they were going to get there happily ever after. It would have kind of meant more if one of them died, or maybe if Starlight lost her powers. That would have made sense. Or maybe Huey, I don't know. But there's so many different things I was trying to see in my mind why could it, but it did feel like it felt meh, all their epilogues. Kimiko went on her own because, as you know, Frenchie died. And it sucked because, but I kind of knew one of them had to bite the bullet. I knew it wasn't going to be Mother's Milk because he got the kids. I knew it wasn't going to be Huey because him and Starlight are like neck and neck. Butcher's death was supposed to be the end. And, Sister Sage is funny because she was there and then all of a sudden she disappeared and there was no thing that she could do, I guess. But yeah, like it was, everyone got their little epilogue and it ended, but it was just like, and then it was like certain characters I kind of wanted to see their happy ending, like Queen Maeve. Like I wanted to see, because she lost her powers, and I kind of wanted to see her like adjusting to life with a smile on her face and whatnot. But I guess that maybe, like, I don't know. It was just weird that certain characters, like, as you know, A-Train died as well, and Firecracker died and whatnot. And I felt so bad for both of them, but it's kind of like A-Train had a redemption and became the hero he knew he always could be, and that was kind of clean. So that was kind of good ending to his story. Firecracker, I don't think her death was necessary, but it was just like, it sucked because she sold out her home and then died for it. But in fairness to Homelander, he did tell her to leave. So, there's that. But it was just like, as you go down each and everybody's epilogue, you kind of just feel less and less and less, because the story started off so strong, but I think it was just like a shock value story. On the side note, people were getting very political about the story, and the writers even said, I thought that's what you knew. This was a political story all along. And yeah, if you didn't know that from the beginning of that, you need to really kind of read the room a little bit, or learn how to get your analytical skills or your critical thinking skills together. Because yeah, that sounds like a skill issue where that you can't really see the writing on the wall. We kind of already knew, but it's kind of funny how it correlates a little bit to real life. But that's a conversation for another day. So yeah, it felt empty to me, but it's like I said, the writers feel like they were checking boxes instead of closing arcs. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. Then we're moving on to the section, the section, I wouldn't even call it a section. I'll just say another critique, but it's a little deeper. And that's the thing. The epilogues, like I said, felt hollow. Like my heart, no real meaning, no real emotional punch, just scenes. And that's wild for a show that used to hit you so hard you'd be thinking about it for days. Like, I'm not gonna lie, just the orgasmic episode, I was thinking about that shit for a whole week when that aired. And the episode with, even the first episode when A-Train kind of fucking turned Huey's girlfriend into mush. And it was just like, and then when he was talking, I think, to the Deep about it, he was talking about it and he was like, I think I swallowed her ovaries when I smashed into her. And that's some cold shit. That's like, oh, you monster, you're a freaking demon for doing that. But that's the thing, those episodes left you memorable. Each episode kind of carried this where you were talking about it with the people like later on, like, yo, you gotta watch The Boys, the shit's crazy. But then eventually, as you got later in the seasons, you started realizing that each of those scenes were like shock. And I haven't read the comics, but now I'm more or less going to read the comics to see how it differs and whatnot. But I know certain things are different than that, and then some. Like even Starlight. Starlight wasn't a main core member of the group. Like she was usually just leading Huey on most of the time. Also, Homelander's death. Homelander was killed by Black Noir, which was a clone of Homelander, which a lot of people don't know. So the stuff like that is in the comics, but I got to read more of the comics to get the duality of them and whatnot. But the main points that I wanted to bring out in this critique is like Homelander's God complex arc deflated at the end because I thought it was going to be more, and it just felt so low. It just felt like nothing. But I guess if you pick it apart, you can see why it was nothing. And it was nothing really to fear because you all of them were supers in their own right. You had Kamiko there, you had Homelander there, and then Kamiko hit him with the D power blast. So that was the main thing that really helped out. So it didn't matter if you had B1, it just got erased with that blast, which I felt that's something they should have been focusing on from the get-go, figuring out a way to get this dude's blast. But I digress. The final fight lacked brutality and stakes. Now, I'm going to compare it to the last fight they had with Soldier Boy, Homelander, Butcher, and I think Huey was in that. And that fight was brutal. That fight was like visceral. It was like raw power clash. They were just lobbing at each other for at least a good, I think that scene was like 3 minutes or 5 minutes, with just punching, counterpunch, throw, laser, blast, this thing, that thing, all of this. It was just constant stuff that I felt that fight lacked more energy and more brutality and just raw emotion as opposed to the final fight, and in the Oval Office. And I think that was like the highest stakes of the season, where you got them three in a room to fight once, like for round one and then some. So I'll leave it on that. And then the emotional closure didn't really land. So a lot of these closures that they had that were emotional, they didn't quite sit well. Like they were there, it needed to happen. Like I said before, it was like checking a box. Like it was just so, there wasn't no like real closure. I guess it just went back to the beginning, to the start, just went full circle back to nothing. And I guess maybe that's what they were planning to do. Like they went high, they started on a pop that started, and then they went down, and it didn't come back as a pop back to the beginning, or like something to shock you back to the beginning. Like even when the final scene right before Starlight flies off and goes pregnant to go do stuff and whatnot, I thought she was gonna get hit by something, or somebody was gonna splatter her and whatnot. But then I remember, oh yeah, she's a suit, so it's not gonna really do too much to her unless you were like Homelander and you were like mean it, but Homelander's dead, and then some. And I'm gonna talk about his death in just a second. Once again, the season felt like it ran out of like the runway. Yeah, I'm sorry, not everybody has the longest world's runway like Fast and the Furious and shit. No, most people live in the real world and shit, and they don't have family and whatnot. Anyway, screw you, don't judge me. It just felt like it ran out of road. They didn't have nowhere to go. Like they just was like, all right, we don't know what to do. And I felt that's where the writers were dealing with when they were coming to an end. I wonder what Simon Pegg was thinking, because this is his creation, the comics and everything and whatnot. I wonder like how he envisioned it. Did he want to do that, or was what he going for the show? Because I know he was doing things differently, but to each his own. So then we're moving on to the Butcher and Huey moment. I will say about this though, the Butcher and Huey moment, it was one of the part that actually surprised me. Huey taking Butcher out, and it did feel right. Once again, it did feel a little flat, but it did feel right because we knew Butcher had to throw it in at some point. I thought it was going to be during that battle that Butcher did the right thing to do and just killed and killed Homelander in a sacrifice, but not all endings have to be with sacrifices like that. But yeah, Butcher was never gonna stop because he was on some Eren Yeager shit. I'm gonna kill them all suits must die, and he ended up living long enough to become the actual villain because he didn't care if he killed the human race, he cared if he killed Supes. And he was going to do it irregardless because he's like, what happens when another Homelander comes around? Another strong person who thinks he's a god and wants to ascend and wants to do the same exact thing and start the thing all over, because you turn around after everything happened. Stan, I'm sorry, I can't. My mind is going blank with their names. Stan Edgar, played by, hold on one second. Stan Edgar, played by Giancarlo Esposito, literally got on TV, and it was crazy because it was just like how, he said it to Mother's Milk. He went and he just jumped right back in the seat, and because he said, I got a role to play, just like you have a role to play. And it was sad because Ashley got the worst of it. She ended up becoming impeached, not becoming the president. And not being able to do that, so she ended up getting fizzled out, which I felt that Ashley needed to win, and I was so mad they did that to Ashley. Ashley's been through so much, and I feel so sad for her, but you know what? A-Train really did say, hey, let's get the hell out of here while we still got a chance. I'll take you wherever you want to go, like, let's just get the hell out of here now. And Ashley decided, F that. I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna ride this out, and that was the price she paid. So that's how it goes for her. And when Mother's Milk seen Stan Edgar, he was just more like, damn, this dude wasn't lying. It was a thing to play. So it kind of felt that everybody had their role to play, and Butcher's was to take that hit, and then some. Now, the bigger problem that I have, and here's where it gets messy, it feels like the writers didn't know what to do anymore. And I can't stop saying this ad nauseum. This has become a pattern with big shows. Like, they start strong, they build these massive themes, and then when it's time to land the plane, they're like, vibes? And it's kind of like we've seen that with Game of Thrones. Now we're seeing that with The Boys. In a sense, we've seen that with The Walking Dead. But The Walking Dead continued, so I guess, does it count? It's just, you would think this is gonna go somewhere, and you thought they were gonna run the franchise, but and then you seen Gen V got canceled. It feels like a missed opportunity. That show had momentum. It could have expanded the universe, kept the energy going, at least helped the boys stick the landing, but instead everything just stops because the characters were integrated after season 2. And I understand that they took a big loss when when the death of one of the actors of the show, I think his name, I forgot, 1 second again. When the actor from Gen V, Chance Perdomo, unfortunately passed away, it seemed like it left a void in the series, and I think maybe they might have built the series around him or do something because he was a main person into season 1. It just, I guess, stuff like that. Now everything just stops. So it's kind of suspended in the what ifs and whatnot. Maybe they can bring something back in The Boys down the line, maybe a movie or something, because I do feel like the story doesn't have to end there, and it would be awesome to see some sort of way they can kind of turn it into something, not Walking Dead status, but open up the story just a little bit more. Now, my final verdict, and before I tell you my final verdict, I actually want to talk about one thing that was actually pretty funny. The final battle after with Homelander and Huey and Butcher, they after Kimiko depowers Homelander. You have Butcher walking up on Homelander, and Homelander is realizing I am human. I hurt. My body hurts. Everything hurts. I'm not normal. Oh no, shit's going bad. Shit's going south. I don't have my powers. Oh, I'm going to die. And this man started begging for his life. And then he said one of the most ayo things out the whole series. He was like, I'll suck your dick. I'm sorry. That shit had me dying. That is like the highlight and the funniest shit I've ever seen. Because from the point of this this TV show, this man has invoked fear every single time he's on screen. To going telling you, I'll suck your dick. Like, he sound like the Cheeseburgers man from Don't Be a Menace or Menace to Society. Shit is wild. Like, it's just, that is just like one of the most AO points in there. And I'm like, I don't know why you went out like that, fam. I would have never ever admitted that to like whatever the case to keep me alive. Butcher was not, he did not give a shit. But yeah, that's just an honorable mention. I had to put it in there, throw it, just slide that in there before I finish up. So, my final take. The finale wasn't awful. It was just, in my personal opinion, undercooked. The story choices made sense, but the execution didn't hit the emotional or brutal highs this show is known for. It's like they had the right ingredients but didn't season anything. It's not the worst ending ever, but for a show that started as strong as The Boys, it should have been better. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you feel the same. And if you do, make sure you like the channel. And also consider subscribing. If you don't, leave it in the comments below. You know, it just felt underwhelming. It was just, the finale was underwhelming. I don't know. It didn't work for me, but did it work for you? And if you want me to break down how this compares to the comics or what the ending should have been, I'll drop that next. So anyway, like I always say, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and Jay always appreciates that. So like I said, make sure you like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, and thank you so much for tuning in. And like I said, I'll be back on another one. Y'all take it easy, take care of yourself, and make good choices. And I'm out of here. Peace.